right. Shalom, Israel. Y'all send y'all to the brothers. Y'all shamar send y'all shout to the sisters. We are the Isupk, the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge. Established in 1969, 1 West under 25th Street, Harlem, New York. We led by Commander General Yana. We're not affiliated with any other organization. Israel pay your ties, man. All right, this is Isupk Milwaukee Lashwan Kodash class. Some of the things that we're going to go over real quick. Prepositions, possessive adjectives, and I think we'll start counting a little bit. At least try to see if we can get 1 through 10, just to kind of a basis, get the ball rolling. So you wouldn't want to think of these in the term necessarily of prefix and suffix in equivalence to the English language. Again, a lot of these words can be compound words and concepts, and not just as black and white, maybe as linear as English might present itself. You almost have the definition of the word, in itself, explaining what's going on, versus the broader idea of some of these compound words and phrases that, again, are conveying a concept or a thought. So just to get this going, so the prepositions. Which are going to come before the word, in front. Before the root, I should say. Make sure this is showing up pretty good on camera. That looks a little fuzzy, but and that looks backwards. This is unfortunate. Let me see if I can't turn this around. And yours is straight? Oh, all right. So I'm just backwards on here then. Yeah, if y'all can see me straight, cool. And that works. All right, so ba. Now, some of them are going to be we'll get into this more, because you might see something that starts with an or a ba, for example, but it's just the word itself, like barak, which means blessed. That is the root word of it. That's the word. It doesn't carry a preposition before it. It's just the word itself. So da has one. Ha. Wa. Over here. Ya has one. Ka. La. Ma. Sha. Fa. So I is going to be I. I, or I am. Ba in the in. Do. the, and. So now, like for these two, especially for the wa and the ha, you're going to see these paired up a lot. You're going to see a lot of waha and the. You're going to see that combined quite often. Guys, he, guys, like, guys, two. So in Sabbath service, when you see us holding up the wine glass and we say, La Yasha'Allah, we're sending that toast to Israel. Ma is of, Shah pertains, and Tha is actually going to be more of a future tense. And just to give the, again, the corresponding Hebrew characters that will go with it. Paleo, and in Yiddish. Let's turn them off. I think we're going to run into each other. All right, it's all coming in. It's a lot getting so close. Let's even this out. Yeah. So again, remembering that in the beginning or in the middle of the word, the ka is going to take on this form. At the end of the word, it's going to take on this form, which in these cases, that's going to be a great advantage with a couple of these. The ma, the na, the za, and pa all carry a different form at the end of the word. So you can use that to your advantage at the end of the word. If you see this form as a character, that might indicate, it's not always going to be like that, but it might indicate that it's going to be a possessive noun. But again, like we had said for the word barak, just real quick, which means bless. See how well that comes through. Okay. We're going to get the word Barak, which means bless. So, Barak. The Ra and the Ka are connected so that that vowel sound drops off of the Ka, and you're left with the consonantal value. In the Paleo, in the Yiddish, you're going to see that Ka take on this form, but it's not a possessive noun. The Ba is not a preposition. This is just the word. Otherwise, the Ra itself would have to be the root word, and that would have to mean blessed. And then this would have to mean in, and then that Ka, well, we'll get to these later too, but the Ka as the possessive, that I think that's going to mean you. So, in bless you, I mean, I guess if you want to do some roundabout, you want to chase your own tail and try to turn that into a thing, go for it. But you're going to have words like this that it's just the word itself. And again, in English, this is just how we would spell it, given the English characters to the sounds in Hebrew. You know, that's a Hebrew ba. In English, we would recognize it as this. Ra. Ka. So, you know, that's not necessarily how you, I mean, no, I guess in English that is how you have to spell it. There really ain't no way around it. Because of their vowel usage and to show that separation. I mean, we might be able to make a system out of that, but most people ain't gonna know what the hell's going on. So when we're trying to break down the prayers or something like that, or any of the any of the verses, where we're just using what's appropriate for this time. Which means if we have to use a letter J, we're using the letter J, and it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. La. Ma. Sha. And Tha. Get it out of the way, make sure that everybody can see that well enough. It does look like the camera's a little hazy on our side of it. Yeah, just the laptop. You're seeing it pretty clear though on? Okay. So like, I'm gonna grab the strong concordance. Now, again, you do have to be careful on where you're sourcing the information from. The Strongs and the Blue Letter Bible, and even the Interlinear. The language, unfortunately, had been mainly preserved through Yiddish. You're going to see a little bit too much of that influence on the dialect. So I'm trying to find the example of one word here. I believe it's in Psalms 83. I guess maybe that would be the best example of this. But for example, Laka. Absolutely. All right. Now we got these on the board. Let's get possessive nouns as well. It's going to be at the end or after the root. Which actually might not be the case in every situation. Like the word that so I'll take that down. Here's an OM at the end. Just leave it right there. Because there's one word, the example that I'm going to use, it's basically just going to be a preposition and then the possessive. So this list is going to be a little bit shorter. It's going to show, again, at the end of the word, you're going to see in these forms. Look back, so our. Her. His. Say hers. And his. My. So now when we get into these, yours. Let's take the S off of that. A couple different ways you can see this, the indication. So now, M for masculine, and then PL for plural. So the term yours, the masculine form, the masculine plural form of it. And then you're going to have, so this would just be singular. Your, the feminine plural. And the same thing for there. Masculine plural. Feminine plural. Yeah.
Do that singular come with feminine and masculine?
No. It's like, I know we're going to do this a little backwards, but we're going to already just fine. So ours, now, hers, ha, his is wa. Again, you can see all these at the end of the word. My, ka, or sla, yeah. Yours is ka. And again, when you see these Hebrew terms in English, especially in the King James and the Old English, you're seeing, antiquated words. Not to say that they don't still have relevance today, but like the term thou, for example, which is actually, that was going to be one of the examples I was going to use. We know that means it's like in reference to you, but that you're normally going to see that as laka. Laka. So now if we take the preposition la, which means to, ka in this case, as a possessive pertaining to you or yours, and if that's supposed to equal thou, the concept, to you, again, this being the possessive, so you being the possessive, yours being the possessive, just depending on, the context and how it's being applied, to you, thou. It kind of makes sense. A brother had brought this out, Howard brought this out a while back. Damn. And what was it? Man, it's a lot. I can't remember how we did it. It was a combination of words, it and that. No, the and it. And when you see those words together, separately, it's going to look as it's going to be the and it. But you can see those words together, and then in Hebrew, it's going to mean that. So if you look at it in English, the it, that makes sense. It goes together, it blends, it meshes. The it. What's that? What is the it? It's that thing right there. What is thou? It's to you. You know, it's to you. It's of yours. It's yours. You. Thou name for thou sake. In the Hebrew, I just had this in the blue letter where I was looking at this. Psalms 83, starts off. Alahayim al-dam Lakat. So talking, to God. Al being not. Dam Yah being so Dam Yah being the quiet. So it's going to say all Dam Yah Lakat. So not quiet you. So the Most High, Alahayim. I wonder if I can pull that up on here. Try to show y'all a little bit better. There we go. Slack, I got to stand in front of the screen for a second. We're going to share this. This is in the Blue Letter Bible we're looking at real quick. All right, so you see that. So now in English, you can see, keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O God. Now, if we open this up open up the tools, you got the interlinear is what we're on. So now the subject matter is, this is a prayer to the Most High. So it starts off with Alahayim, but you don't see that in the English until after we make the request, basically. Keep not thou silence, O God. But in the Hebrew, it's going to start off Alahayim al damya laka. So now, in English, to kind of fill in the missing blanks to the concept that's being purveyed here in al damya laka, those scholars had using again the tools available in the language that they're trying to translate it to. Understanding what the concept is in Hebrew, conveying that back into English, even though it's going to look out of order. Alahayim, Aldam Ya Laka. And again, that's talking, and in this case, it's the Most High Thou, because we're making a request to Him. Just one example of for that word laka. Well, that's not even in the Strong's like that. You can see how, preposition. And you can see how it's giving kind of the introduction to it. A preposition introduces a phrase that describes another word or concept within a sentence, usually a noun or a verb. Prepositions show the direction, the location, the time, or introduce an object. They're usually followed by an object. So again, normally you can see the preposition before the root. They're not really giving this though. Because again, the ka in this case is going to act as the possessive, which is why, again, when I had said you do have to go through the sources, because even the Strongs, the BLB, the Hebrew, the Greek interlinear, that's not always going to be the exhaustive source for it. Switch back. But you can see how the sentence structure, combinations are going to get a little wild. But that's why we're going to, consistently hold the classes so that we can get more comfortable, more familiar with this. As time goes by, so we can start speaking more fluently amongst each other. So, the plural, the masculine plural for yours, and it's all going to be placed off of ka. So ka just being the just kind of gender neutral singular form of it, ka. Everything else is going to come off of that. So for men, it's going to be kam. For women, or so like, especially if you're addressing men, you're going to use this form. If you're addressing women, you're going to use this form. Same thing for these two. Kam and kam. And these are going to be ham and han. So again, just knowing their place, even though some of these, we had seen these in the preposition state. That's going to be in the beginning of the word. These will be at the end of the word. And really, at the end of the word, you're never going to see it in this form. It's always going to look like this. And again, just noticing the height difference. I guess I did that a little at an angle. Trying to make it easier to recognize that height difference. Even though in the scriptures it's going to be pretty subtle, something to keep an eye out for. It is going to drop below. Not to be confused with the letter D, which is pretty much the exact same thing, just not as tall. And again, it can be very subtle height difference, but it will be there. So at the end of the word, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to just that little detail, and that'll let you know for sure if it's a ka or a da. Because again, at the end, you're only ever going to see that form and not this if it is in fact going to be possessive. Or if it's turned into a possessive noun. So now come. Again, these are some of the only characters in the Yiddish that do kind of exceed the dimensions of the normal characters. So now by itself, if you see that ka here, that possessive noun form, you're just going to see it like this. Otherwise, when plural, you will get this form of it. Now keeping in mind then the ma at the end of a word, it takes on this form instead of that. So the character placement is going to be important. And again, kind of give you an advantage to some degree as to what form it's taken on. Is it a possessive? Is it part of the root? Is it plural? Depending on the use. The na also does the same thing. Come. Again, that's a little exaggerated in the scripture. You're going to see it. It's going to be a little bit more subtle. It's not to be confused with the wa, which is going to be pretty much identical to it, just not as tall. It's not going to be as long. And that'll also kind of give you a hint to make sure of what character it is. Because at the end, it's always going to take on that shape. It's like that form. Instead of in the beginning or the middle of the word, when the na takes on this form. Not to be confused with the ba. And this in itself is a word, ban, means son. And that's going to be connected, even though this is Yiddish, and we don't normally use the connectors there, but then instead of that, it's going to take on that form. So that again, should make things smoother. Again, it won't be that dramatic, but it should make things a little bit smoother when identifying what the word is, what kind of word, if it's plural, is it singular, is that possessive I'm looking at, is that preposition on the front, repetition, exposure. Plural, talking about dudes, guy stuff here. It's for the bros. Han. So at the end of the word, you might see some of these. They're not going to be separated with any dashes or any spaces. They're just going to be pretty much rightly connected to the word. And this should usually precede the root word. And you should never see any of these, by itself, just dangling around, really. Like Khan, for example, Khan means yes in Hebrew. So if you're ever to see these just alone, they're not attached to any word, it just can mean the word yes. And again, that word yes, nothing. And again, that word yes is going to be more of a concept word because it doesn't always have to just exclusively mean yes. It can be an affirmative. Affirmative acknowledgement. Yes. Actually, I think we got another example of that in Psalms 83. Let me just switch back over. For a certain word here. Slaki, can you hand me the prayer book? I'll be able to spy it easier in there. No, the prayer book. Slaki, bear with us. There we go. The water. It might be in the Lord's Prayer. Okay. Okay. So that's actually going to be past that. Good.
When we say come on the one, do that signify a female?
No, because when it's by itself, it's just the word yes.
Okay.
So this is going to be attached to another word.
Okay.
In this form, yep. Which is why I want to try to show the difference here real quick. In Psalms 83, good.
So like the other when it's by itself, it's speaking about his, but if it's plural or with another word, it's speaking about female.
Yes. Yes. Essentially there. Come on.
So like it is challenging, but easy, if you know what I'm saying.
And that's that's going to be the frustrating part about it. As with pretty much anything, once you catch the basics of it, it is going to be pretty easy, to identify, any of the discrepancies that we started off with. Okay, so it should be in this next verse, 15. Okay, thank you. So in Psalms 83 and 15, you're going to see it start off with Kan Thardapma. And this one actually runs pretty linear. So in this case, Kan, they're using that for so. Now again, that's just Kan by itself. Normally that would be, an affirmation, saying yes to something, being in agreement with something, just depending on the context. But in this case, he's using it for so. So persecute them. Yes, persecute them is the concept that's being purveyed there. But you can see where Kan by itself, it doesn't have, it's not a possessive in any form. It's not a preposition in any form, even though it starts off with the letter K or the Ka. It doesn't have any of those additions. So just by itself, it's not. I don't believe it's a male or female. And again, when you look at words and they say, it's masculine or feminine, that also doesn't mean that when you see that word, it has anything to do with a man or a woman. It's just the concept of, the dominant or maybe submissive application of that word, of that concept. I remember this one cat tried to tell me I think it was in Matthew, when it was going down the lineage of Yahushua, and it was saying it ended with Joseph, the husband of Mary. And he was trying to say the word the in the middle was feminine, so that has to mean it's talking about Mary. That don't mean a damn thing. Just in the concept of that phrase, right? It was either like the or of. Just one of those just kind of remedial words. That even if it was a so-called feminine word, has nothing to do with a woman, but giving kind of ownership too. So if they were to say, like, the husband of Mary, if Mary is that subject or that focal point, it's all about the husband of kind of giving it in submission to the subject. That's how some of those concepts and things would work. But it doesn't have to have anything to do with male or female. This depends on the application. Now again, I was too fast with erasing these. But now when we see things like this, this, like, if you're addressing men, you're going to use the ma, and the na is going to be used as a feminine marker. The ma is going to be used as a masculine marker. So if you're addressing men, it's going to take on that form. If you're addressing women, it's going to take on that form. Same thing with theirs. Hum and hun. I'm pointing to something that's not even there, but you remember what was just there a second ago. that's more direct because the subject matter is talking about male or female.
So, Shalaka, so if it's taken on a feminine sense, not just a female, but a feminine sense, you would use calm. If it's taken on a masculine sense, you would use can. Can.
Right. If the subject matter, if you're talking about men or women, like that is very gender specific based on the subject.
But take it is talking about the male, but it's using a feminine sense.
No.
So what would it be then?
Give me an example of something that you would be trying to say.
Is
Well, and again, in these cases, so if I'm talking about, if I'm talking to you, Rapaya, all right, you're a brother. So if I'm talking about you and I'm saying this is yours, that's when I'm going to use come. So let's look at a couple examples. So I wanted to say. I'm not going to use that. Select. Let me try to pull this up. You could even use your name. Just give me a minute here. Again, this is gonna be plural too, so I guess I couldn't use that for you. If I was talking to a room of men, um, and it's yours like this. Well, I can win work because it's a little bit different. It's like I was trying to find a good example for how we can use this. And it's like a lot of examples that I'm getting already grouped words. That's Emilio. So I'm about to get back to this. I will get back to that. I'll dig that up for you for next week. Just so we can get those on the table. And then let's start counting. So we'll just use 1 to 10 first. And then you'll see how that system works with kind of counting by tens, and then we get to 100 and then hundreds and so on and so forth. Numbers kind of get kind of long. All right, so it's going to start. We go 1 through 10 first. We got Achad, Shanya, Shalash, Arbai, One, 2, 3, 4. Where did I keep on putting the green? Achad for 1. Achad. Achad. Shanya. Shanya. So the Sha and the Na are connected. The Cha and the Da are connected. Shalash. Shalash. Arbai. Actually, these are separate. Those are going to be connected. Arbai. So the more room. Arbai. So real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4. Achad, Shanya, Shalash, Arbai. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, something else I'll check into, but I don't think we got to worry about any masculine, feminine prepositions, possessives when we're dealing with any of these. You got that? Kamash. Shasha, which is a number. We're not talking about Club Shay Shay. Shabai. Mauna. So we have 1 through 4. Now we got 5, 6, 7, 8. Kamash. 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 Shashai. 6. Very simple. Pronounce independently. Shashai. Shabai. Shabai. See, I guess similar pronunciation in Arabic. Shabai with the ba and the I. Shabai. Those are connected. Shabai. Shashawana. It's like Shemawana, my. Shemawana. Let you take a look at that. We got 5, 6, 7, 8. Hamash, Shashai, Shabai, Shemauna. 9 and 10 real quick. For shy. And Isupk. Now that might sound familiar when at the end of every class, well, at least most classes and sessions, we end up with the security announcements. And we always express about paying your tithe, which is a tenth in the Hebrew, which is ma'ashor. Ma'ashor. To kind of show where we're making the difference here now. Ma'ashor, in this case, being the word for tithes, which means a tenth. If we go back and we look at the preposition, what ma means, so this whole thing goes into tithes. The preposition ma of 10. So ma Ishara 10, ma of, so of 10. And again, tithes being 1/10 of every penny of any and I forgot how that goes. Of any profit that you get, 1/10 of it. So of 10. So again, the concept of tithes, or a tenth of, the concept of ma'ashor of 10 being, tithes, and tithes meaning a tenth of, it's not, we're not, you ain't got to reach too far to connect that. Again, it's more the concept that's in play here versus the verbatim words. In English, a lot of people are going to get caught up on some of these little things. Just trying to keep it relatively simple in itself, because a lot of these words are going to express concepts in Hebrew that in English we got to go through. We might have to add some other words in English to make sense of the concept in Hebrew. Otherwise, it's going to sound like some gibberish. And again, if you were looking at some of our older classes, when we were breaking down the prayers, going verse by verse, line by line, we saw how in the Hebrew and the English, almost the whole sentence was flipped over. And how you began the prayer in Hebrew is not how you would have conducted it in English. The shy. The shy. Aisha. Aisha. All right, so to just get us started on some of these numbers, and then we'll start getting into teens, getting to 20s, 30s. And next week I'll go into more about some of those plurals. The example, I could not grab it today. But I will work on getting you we'll build up stronger examples on how those get applied so that we can see how they are formed in a word, in a sentence structure versus if you were to see those, just by themselves. All right, so with that, we will catch y'all next week. Relatively short class today, just over an hour. All right, so we'll see y'all next week. We'll go into teams. And then after we understand the teams, from there we'll just be able to jump through tens. The same way that we got 21, 22, 23. It's gonna be a similar concept when we get into 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, so on until we get to 100, and then same concept of the hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400. Same concept of the thousands. And then we'll just build and grow from there. So just a beginning point to get some of the prepositions out there, the possessives, so that we know where this is going in the future and some of the numbers, so we can get this party started with that. We will leave you. We'll catch y'all next week. Join us tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for the Sabbath service. Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Bashem Yahshua to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Latam Bashem Yahshua to the sisters. Shalom.